Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise and join me in greeting the Class of 22 of the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame. The Class of 22 Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame inductees. Okay, please be seated. And before I forget, thank you very much to our piper, Sheldon Burkett. We're breaking in a new piper this year, so he's so far so good.
Nechum chin ak, ha squile, eoch tenoyup, and Nequemiston, Sam Seward, Queen Sna. Yaklam chit e qualostana chit, ten al touch. Tina chen kla, slaan, e homochistin. Ends sko opmish e sninaimuch. Nita tamuch, kakait, hath unsquallowins, quins quachnomia. Tima quatsi, wealth tima tight. Good evening. Nequemiston is my ancestral name. Sam Seward is my name. I'm from the villages of Slaan and Homochiston. I am Squamish Nation and Nanaimo Nation. Welcome to the unceded territory of Kakait. Hath and Squallowins, Quins, Quachnomia. Hoyt Mathoth, He'ewith.
Thank you very much, Sam. I'm not going to try and say his traditional name. My name is Dave Evans. I will be your master of ceremony for tonight's festivities. And first and foremost, I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight to celebrate this special night for our 10 inductees this evening. I know, as always, we have people from across the country, from across Canada, and from the United States. So welcome to beautiful British Columbia. Enjoy your stay out here and enjoy your evening tonight. Now, normally I wouldn't do this, but I'm going to talk about the weather. It's like a first date. And the reason I'm doing that is, if you recall last year at this time, especially anybody who was out here from anywhere other than BC, it was a tad damp. We had an atmospheric river, the worst flooding in God knows how many years. It was horrendous. So, in light of that, we made special arrangements. Oh, through the provincial government, what the heck? What the heck? Since we have an MLA here gracing us tonight, through the provincial government, we had our atmospheric river moved to last week. And for the benefit of those of you coming in from back east, and I know it's not that cold back there now, but hey, it usually is, so go with it. We've dropped the temperature for you for the benefit of our eastern visitors. So you're very welcome. Enjoy your stay out here and enjoy your evening tonight. Now, I'd now like to introduce Matt Black. Matt is the chairman of the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame Board of Governors. I'd like to ask Matt to come forward and say a few words on behalf of the board. Matt?
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Sam Seaward, for that welcome. It is greatly appreciated. Good evening, and welcome to the 2022 Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame Induction Banquet. I'd like to congratulate all of our honored inductees for the class of 2022. It is richly and warmly deserved. Sorry. I'd like also to introduce our following dignitaries who have joined us to celebrate their accomplishment. The Honourable Jennifer Whiteside, Minister of Education and Childcare, representing New Westminster and the province of British Columbia. Please stand. Thank you. Jim Burke, Chair of the Canadian Lacrosse Foundation. Sean Williams, President of Lacrosse Canada. Thank you for joining us this evening. If I could ask all of our present and past board members of the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame, please stand and be recognized. Thank you for all that you do. The board would also like to thank the following diligent work in preparing for this evening. Robin Hollingshead, for taking lead on tonight's event. Her team, Rick Wills, Connor Hollingshead, Paul Horn, Art Young, and our Master of Ceremonies, Dave Evans. Our programs were written and produced by Rad Joseph and David Stewart Candy. Please share them with those that were unable to join us tonight. A lot of work went into them, and they're very, very good reads. The board would also like to thank David Stewart Candy and David Soul for the creation of our induction banquet certificates. They are very, very nice. And if those of you that are past inductees who did not receive one, because in the past we didn't have them, you do have an option anytime you come to order one, and we will try and get them to you. Okay? The Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame must also acknowledge and pay tribute for the work and dedication of our Executive Director, David Soul, who keeps our hall running and does so many numerous tasks. Thank you, David. A few changes here at the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame that I'd like to bring to your attention. You will note that we have our first ever induction in the new officials category. Hey, no booze, that's awesome. We also have instituted a new selection committee to recognize field lacrosse and Canadian athletes and builders who play all over the country and the world. These athletes move from region to region in order to compete and grow our game. And a final thank you to all of you who have come here tonight and congratulate and celebrate the best our game has to offer and to share in the achievements of all of our 2022 inductees. Thank you.
Thanks, Pat. I'd now like to ask Minister Whitehead if she'd care to come forward and say a few words on behalf of the provincial government. Surprise.
Well, just a little bit of a surprise, but honestly, if I can take credit for the weather tonight on behalf of government, I'll do it. Absolutely. Thanks very much. Thanks for the warm welcome, and thank you very much for the invitation to join you this evening. It's always a pleasure to gather on the traditional territory of the Kakite First Nation and Halkomelem speaking people. And frankly, a real treat for me to come and hang out with some lacrosse aficionados. Just a little bit of a story. When I was little, my dad's best friend lived in Burnaby, and their kids were in lacrosse. And I think in those days, the Burnaby team was called Cablevision. And we used to go, my dad and I, hang out with them every weekend and take in lacrosse games. And you know, I really, really, really wanted to play. I really wanted to play. There were not that many girls playing lacrosse when I was that little. But I did get a hand-me-down lacrosse stick and a ball, and I used to go out in the alley and throw that ball against the garage, and I got not too bad. I think, probably I could have been a contender had I had the opportunity. Life went in a different direction, and that didn't happen. But I have always maintained a real love for the game. And there's something just very, for me, kind of nostalgic and comforting about sitting in the stands and watching a lacrosse game. And I don't get a chance to do it nearly often enough, but I love it when I do get a chance. And of course, New Westminster produces some amazing lacrosse players. And the game has really evolved just so much over the decades, and is such an incredible part of just the fabric of New Westminster and many communities. So it's a real treat to be here. There is just one thing I'm going to want to do, and I didn't bring my camera up, so I can't do it right now. But I think I'm going to be back up later, delivering something on behalf of my boss, the Premier. So I'll do it then. But you know that you all probably know that my boss is a big lacrosse booster. He loves lacrosse. He loves the game. He's played the game. And you probably also know that we have this little friendly rivalry between New Westminster and Victoria, between the Shamrocks and the Salmon Bellies. So I am going to have to let him know that I'm here tonight and what I'm doing, because he'll be very jealous. So we'll do something special. We'll maybe take a special photo to send to him later on tonight. But thanks very much, everybody. It's really lovely to join you tonight.
I was quite enjoying that speech when she was talking about Burnaby. As soon as she started talking about how wonderful New Westminster is, I kind of got a bit of a turn. Sorry, Wayne. Sorry, Carol. But it just gave me a thought, though. Now, as I'm sure you all know, Minister Whitehead's boss, Whiteside's boss, Mr. Horgan, is stepping down from the premiership. And something I'm sure you've all noticed, or everybody from here has noticed, that he always has a lacrosse stick in his office. Anytime he does an interview, anything on camera, one-on-ones, that lacrosse stick, Whitehead on it, and it's got a nice lacrosse stick on it. So I think, in all fairness, since you do have a stick rummaged somewhere, buried somewhere, it might be nice that you step up and take over that tremendous responsibility. Thank you very much for that. I'd now like to introduce Sean Williams. Sean is the president of Lacrosse Canada. I'd like to ask Sean to come up to say a few words on behalf of Lacrosse Canada. Sean?
Thanks, Dave. Just a little background is, and I was talking to some friends of mine, and for a kid growing up in Langley, this is pretty surreal for me to do this. So we'll move on with it. It's on behalf of Lacrosse Canada, good evening and welcome to the 2022 Hall of Fame induction. Congratulations to our 2022 inductees on the recognition tonight. It's well deserved. Throughout the ceremony, we'll hear a common theme of dedication and the love of our game that drove these inductees to excel. Acknowledging the high standard that has been set by not only tonight's honorees, but also our past honoree members makes tonight such a great experience for all of us. I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame committee and volunteers for the work you put into this evening. And the future of lacrosse cannot be built without the foundation that has been laid by our lacrosse family from coast to coast. So as president of Lacrosse Canada, I'm honored to do my part to grow the game and hope you enjoy your evening to the fullest. Thank you.
Now, I'd now like to ask Jim Burke to step up. Jim is the chairman of the Canadian Lacrosse Foundation, and every year I have to be reminded exactly what the Canadian Lacrosse Foundation's role is. All I know is that it involves making money, raising money, and spending money. So the last one I'm good at, the first two not so much. Jim?
Thank you, Dave. My wife is good at it too. Honored inductees from the class of 2022, honored current members of the Hall of Fame, members of the Board of Directors of the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame, and the ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the Board of Directors of the Canadian Lacrosse Foundation, I'd like to extend our congratulations to the 2022 class of inductees to the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame. We are all grateful for your contribution to the history and the heritage of this great game, and grateful for the opportunity to recognize you this evening for your exceptional accomplishments in our sport. Being from Alberta, I'm especially pleased to see Kaleb Toth being inducted into the Hall this year. While many of you are familiar in this room with Kaleb's accomplishments in the BC Junior A League, the WLA, or nationally in the NLL, I would be remiss to my home province if I didn't point out that the foundation of his game was developed through minor lacrosse in Alberta. So Kaleb played many years on a team in Calgary, the Axeman community team. Many times it included his brother Joe, who was a very accomplished player in his own right. Many times he was coached by his father Harris, and his mother Christine provided support to the whole family. It's such a typical story of lacrosse families here in Canada. So some of the things that the Canadian Lacrosse Foundation has done. We've enjoyed our association with the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame for the last 10 years, really. And we've just completed now a 2-year financial commitment of $92,000 to help the Hall to reach its goals. And thank you. In 2022, we're scheduled to continue with our Legends of Lacrosse project. I hope you've had a chance to see that. To date, we've captured 63 interviews of players, builders, officials, and administrators covering the men's, women's, and Indigenous participants across the country. We've also covered specific events like the Nations in 1980, the effort required to get lacrosse approved as a co-national sport, and the 1978 World Championships in field lacrosse. We're just about to commence this year's filming of approximately 25 additional interviews through the next 3 or 4 months. To see any of these interviews, please go on the Canadian Lacrosse Foundation website. The entire inventory is there, and this year's production, we will start releasing it sometime early in 2023, and we'll be making announcements through social media and on the webpage. I would like to take the time to acknowledge Jim Calder, who's here this evening. Jim, can you stand up for just a second? Jim is a member of our board. He's a lacrosse historian. He's written 3 books on the subject of lacrosse, and he is the project manager for our board on the Legends of Lacrosse project. So he's got about 3 years invested in this, Jim, and 1 more year to come. So hopefully everyone will enjoy those, and we've captured the history to last forever. Our final active program for the foundation is a youth wellness project that we're rolling out in 3 communities in Nunavut, using lacrosse as a primary activity. The project is modeled and structured like the program you would have seen if you saw the movie The Grizzlies, the lacrosse movie The Grizzlies. It's been developed over the last couple of years, been delayed a little bit by COVID, but we hope to start to roll that out in spring of 2023 in 3 communities up in Nunavut. Finally, I'd like to thank the Board of Directors of the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame for organizing this induction dinner. To all of our guests, please enjoy your evening as we welcome these most deserving inductees into the 2022 class to the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Jim. Now, every year at this time, we have the honor of recognizing the accomplishments of, in this case, 10 outstanding athletes, builders, and contributors to the game of lacrosse. At the same time, we recognize that over the last year since we last met, we've lost a number of people from the lacrosse community, certainly from the Hall of Fame community, and I'm sure the vast majority of you in here have lost someone in your community and in your family. So at this time, I'd like to take a minute and just reflect on the people we've lost, reflect on their lives, on their contributions, and what they've meant to you. So please take a minute, bow your heads, and reflect on those we've lost over the last year. Thanks very much. So we will break for dinner. Dinner will be coming out momentarily. And I will say near the end of dinner, we have a video that will be shown as you finish your dinner and have your dessert and coffee. And I will introduce that when the time comes. So enjoy your dinner. Thank you very much to our speakers and our VIPs who have joined us this evening. And I will chat with you later.
Between the pipes to keep the deficit down to 2. That one was off the crossbar. That one was unlucky.
This is a sweet goal. I believe Erica Evans is going to walk it in and a little bit of a pump fake and kind of gets Doucette a little bit surprised and goes high. Johnny, they work on power plays, both teams, all teams, trying to move the ball around. There's a good defensive play. There's Brooklyn Walker Welch coming away, and now the keeper. We've seen keepers stray out of the net. Maddie Cunningham for Australia is always an adventure. Here comes. Canadians would love to get a short-hander here. Though he lets it go, and you get an idea. She gets any opening, and there's a short-handed goal.
From the Americans especially, but that's halfway through the second quarter. They only lead by 2 at 4-2.
Captain doing captain Captain-like things. You give her any kind of an opening, and that lefty laser to Canada. I mean, each one, it could come down to a 1 or 2 goal game, and now heading into halftime almost with 24 seconds. Can the U.S. raise the lead? No, the turnover. Now Canada has a chance. Here they come, 2-on-1.
A great opportunity, this superb opportunity to reduce it to 1.
And they do it. Brooklyn Walker-Welch off the turnover. Canada has turned the tables here in the last few minutes. Just very opportunistic, getting some good defense spot. It's a close game, and they've lost some composure here.
Well, you just heard Scott Teeter say, if you don't score, just keep the ball. Take possession. How about a goal? How about a level game?
Materials Company, the nation's largest producer of crushed stone, sand, and gravel, is proud to help the World Games 2022 make a
Since that time, USA have scored 5 goals, 4 goals in fact, to Canada's 7.
Offensive, just keep spread, right? We had the ball behind there, and then we had
They were 6-3 up, the USA. Now, trail 10-9.
Let's try to get some.
Bell Smith lost possession, but was bailed out. Now there's a chance right in front. Save for Spence. He's been a little quiet here. Hasn't faced a lot. Just 18 years old in goal. From Evergreen, Colorado, the 18-year-old goalie for Team Canada, Lawrence Spence, and now a timeout. A much-needed breather. Wow.
Well, it's been fascinating. Since halfway through that second quarter, where it looked like the USA were going to begin to run through the gears and start running away, now they're 1 down. Big passage to play coming in.
Baxter's on fire.
And now they go 2 clear.
Can the U.S. keep composed? They're not used to this. They're used to scoring and having their...
So they've got to score now.
They're counting on Masseur. What's the call?
Another timeout, is it?
Oh, looks like an offensive foul of sorts. That should do it.
Oh, that's it. Start the car. This is over.
That's it. And now Spence will start the clock, and the celebration can kind of start for the team in red. 30-second power play will take it down, and Canada is going to stand on top of the podium in Birmingham, Alabama. Oh my goodness, what a performance.
Here we go, and this could be the coup de grace to put the game to bed. They don't need to do it. They don't need to do it whatsoever.
They can run it out. It's down. U.S. with a chance to cut within 1. Smith has it loosened, and now Canada will run around. They don't need anything. They're just going to go celebrate. Canada gold medalists in the women's lacrosse tournament in Birmingham, Alabama.
Well, would you believe it? The underdog is barking tonight in Birmingham, Alabama. Americans were big favourites to take this. Canada have come and spoiled the party again. They did it in the men's event earlier in the week, and they've done it again here in the women's lacrosse tournament. Oh Canada, oh my.
Yes.
They have taken the gold medal here at the World Games by 14 goals to 12.
For the most part, is the real reason we're here this evening, and that is to induct 10 very deserving inductees into the Hall of Fame for the class of 2022. Before that, though, I know there are a lot of Hall of Fame members here, honored inductees, and I'd just like now for all of the inductees who are here now, just to please stand and be recognized. Gilly, Stroopy, up you get. Thanks very much. Joanne, sit down. You're not inducted yet. We can still change our mind, you know. You start treading all over the rules like that. Thanks very much. Now, next order of business, I'd like to thank the staff here at the Anvil Centre for a wonderful dinner. Apparently, I was the one that was in the wrong in having dinner come out a few minutes late, so I'll take the flak for that. As usual, they did a wonderful job, great service, great meal. So thank you very, very much to all the staff here. Now, before we begin the formal inductions for this year, I'd just like to invite Chairman of the Board, Matt Black, to come back up again, and he has some very special presentations to make. Matt?
Thank you, Dave. Could I ask Bob Perry, Peter Black, representative for Doc Hedges, representative for William Casey Cook, and I believe that's it. We're missing Dave's. Dave Evans, too. Could you please come up, and Mr. Perry, please come on up to the stage. Here? Okay. I'm just going to hand them over. I'll go in together. Stand there now. Okay.
Oh, we don't have mine? No, I'll get out of the way then.
You guys have got one each everywhere.
Oh, I didn't get one. Oh, well. Oh, yes, I did. Smart ass.
Yes.
Whose kid are you anyway?
And Casey Cook's Hutch. Casey Cook's rep. Casey. No, okay. Please, Paul Warner for the photo. Thank you, guys.
Get to explain what it is.
Yes.
He's ready, guys, he's gonna do another one.
Oh, you don't know? Oh,
Come on
no,
up.
nope.
Thank you. So just a little heads up on what that was. In the past, the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame did not always give out a certificate of achievement. Everyone here who's an inducted member, if you look at the ticket sales, you can check a box, and we will do this for you as well. Okay? So this is not precluded to anybody. If you did not get a certificate from the hall in the past, we would like to rectify that. Just let us know. Okay? Thank you. Dave?
Well, thank you very much, Matt. That's a great gesture on behalf of the hall, and thank you very much. And as Matt said, anybody else, dinosaurs such as myself who didn't get the certificates back in the day, all I got was a letter saying, keep your bloody speech short, whatever you do. Needless to say, I didn't. Now, just before we actually do the inductions, how many times have I said that now? 3 or 4. I think it's important that one of the issues we have, I know I'm not on the selection committee or the board anymore, but I was for many years, and one of the difficulties we always had was just simply not getting nominations. We'd have to scramble and remind people and phone people and email people and whatnot to get people to send in nominations. And it's understandable. It's not something you think about in your day-to-day life. But I'm sure there are many people that are deserving of this honor, but the thing is, they've got to be nominated. Okay? It's like, here, Gilly, here's one of my old jokes. Sorry. But there's a story, there was an old song about an Aussie, and he had a kid that he gave him a boomerang for his birthday. And these kids, bang, 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 and he goes, Dad, my boomerang won't work. It doesn't come back. And the dad says, well, son, first you've got to throw it. And that's kind of the thing with it. You're like, huh, what's that got to do with nothing? No, that's kind of the thing with a nomination. people complain and bellyache and comment about this guy and this girl and that girl not being inducted, not being honored. But you've got to first of all nominate them. The names aren't just plucked out of thin air by the selection committees. So please, it's very easy to do. The nomination form is on the Hall of Fame website. If I can figure it out, anybody can figure it out. It's very simple to do. So please, wherever you're from, take it back to your home province and think about it, give it some thought, and nominate people. Another note, during the during the inductions, we are going to take a brief intermission partway through. So please hold off in wandering off to the bar or wandering off to the loo. We will take a brief 10 or 12 minute intermission partway through to give you a chance to refresh your drinks, stretch your legs, or whatever. Just one message that I have for the inductees, not just for tonight's inductees, but for the other honored members. And I've probably said this one many times before, but I kind of like it. There's a lot of people, I know people, who really dismiss, malign, badmouth, poo-poo, whatever, halls of fame in general. Not just the Lacrosse Hall of Fame, the Hockey Hall of Fame, Football Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, whatever. And our Hall of Fame in particular, for our Hall of Fame in particular, I feel that attitude is absolutely flat out wrong. Halls of Fame, and this Hall of Fame in particular, have a huge, huge position in our Canadian structure. This game has been a part of Canada since before Canada existed, to our Indigenous people. And it's been handed down from them to us. Hopefully we haven't messed it up too much. But it's a vital, vital, important part of our history. And what the Hall of Fame does is chronicle that. It chronicles that vital part of Canadian history. So every one of you who are inductees tonight, and the people who stood, who have been inducted in the past, you're like artifacts in a museum. You're like a bag of dinosaur bones. But you know what? It's the artifacts in the museum that tell the story of history. Like, nobody wants to just read a bunch of dates and read a bunch of stuff. They want to see things. They want to visualize things. And that's what your stories, your biographies, your life in lacrosse is. So for the inductees and the honored members who are here tonight, take pride in this. It really is a big event. It's a big deal, not just for you, but for the sport, and in a small way for the history of the country and the chronicling of the history of the country. So there's my message for tonight. I think it's a good one. So there you go. Now and this is strictly for the inductees tonight, the procedure tonight for the actual induction process. First of all, I will read a relatively brief introduction bio of you. As soon as my introduction is done, the video acceptance speech that you have all recorded will run up on the screen here. Once that ends, I will call you up. You will come up to the stage, come up either side. Matt will present you with your Hall of Fame certificate, much like the one that we just accepted. And tonight, we're very fortunate in that Minister Whiteside has letters from the Premier of British Columbia, Mr. John Horgan, the outgoing Premier of British Columbia, and as she said, a tremendous lacrosse fan. And I think, and also, maybe I'm a little bit talking out of turn here, but completely throwing politics aside, in my memory, I think the most popular Premier I can ever remember us having. Certainly popular with me because he's always had that lacrosse stick in his office, and I remember even in the last election ads with him walking down the street with a kid cradling his stick. But anyway, we have letters that she will present along with your certificates. Then once that's done, you'll have your picture taken here to my left, and then you'll exit down here, go back to your seats, and we'll bring up the next person. Any questions? Tough. Okay, the first category that we will be announcing inductions tonight is the category of officials. And as Matt has said, this is the first year that there has been a separate category for officials. Now, inductees in this category, Captain Obvious here, come from the ranks of officials. Hey, yay me. There'll be up to one official inducted annually, and obviously to date only one has been inducted, but there are several officials already in the Hall of Fame, and there are perhaps plans in the future to shift them into the to the officials category when time comes. Our first inductee of the evening is also the first member of the Hall of Fame's officials sector. After a successful playing career, which included a Man Cup title with Brampton in 1980, he yearned for further abuse and ventured into officiating. Over the next 4 decades, he would create a resume that bordered on mind-boggling. In box lacrosse, he refereed in Canada, in the Major Indoor Lacrosse League and the National Lacrosse League, the first Canadian official to do so, and in international indoor competitions. In addition to working Man and Minto Cup games and several MIL and NOL title games, he was the crew chief for the gold medal game at the 2003 World Indoor Championship. In field lacrosse, in addition to working games provincially, he officiated numerous Canadian Championship games, refereed in the Professional Major Lacrosse League, and officiated the gold medal games at both the 1992 U19 World Championships and the 1998 Men's World Games. In fact, he's the only person who have officiated the gold medal games in 3 major international competitions. In addition to his work on the floor and field, he has contributed greatly to rule and officiating procedure development and has been a mentor for countless young officials. He has been honored with induction into both the Canadian Sports Officials Hall of Fame and in 2021, the National Lacrosse League Hall of Fame, and now becomes the inaugural member of the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame's officials category, Bill Fox.
First, I'd like to thank the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame and the Selection Committee for honoring me worthy of being a member of the class of 2022. Knowing I'll be standing side by side with those inductees from the past, the present, and the future, it's an honor. I would also like to congratulate my fellow inductees on their accomplishment, many of whom I've known both on and off the floor. My first experience with organized lacrosse was in the Toronto playground system. We played at Pape Centre in Withrow Park. Matty Eckler, Ralph Gauthier, ran a wonderful program of many sports, and lacrosse was one of them. We played in the Northeast Lacrosse League at that time. From there, I moved on to the Toronto Beaches Lacrosse Club to play, coach, and referee. Prior to the program starting up, there were kids in the neighborhood that had a few sticks, but many of us didn't. So we had to make our own out of broom handles, cut out Javex bottles, and any ball we can find to play. I've been fortunate to have refereed in a few great games in box and field over the years. In those games, it's important. Take a minute, look around, take it all in, to remind yourself how lucky you are to be in that place and at that time. I wouldn't have made it without the mentorship of my partners. To those who took time to develop me, Harry Benham, John Hurd, Murray Taylor, Mike Cake, Gary Martin, Jim Price, Brian Huntley, Mike Ventura, and many more. A huge thank you. In the early years of the Toronto Field Lacrosse Club, it was a lot of fun for us. But a few of us thought, hey look, the net's 6x6. I can score from center. Yeah, I was one of those. Jim Calder and Patty Mellon, after a few practices, settled us down, and we did play better, not winning much. But we did have fun with a lot of great guys. As a referee, you get assigned to a game, just like the players. You go out and do the best you can. But one thing you learn early is that no matter what the call is, one team's happy, one's not. My first game in Buffalo, we had a 20-minute delay as the walk up to buy tickets was wrapped around the Buffalo Auditorium. I walked out of the referee's room. I looked up and we have 12,500 for the first game. Just a few more thousand than I was used to. Then both national anthems played, ESPN was covering the game live. Yeah, no pressure. Opening face-off, I have to get myself into that game. Home team has a violation. I blow the play down. I give the ball to the visiting team, 12,500. Didn't like my call very much. You know you made an impression on somebody when in a game in Rochester behind the penalty box. There was a lady standing up holding a large bristle board with a circle on it and a slash through it with my name, Fox. Well, one bad call in my life, and that was my reward. Well, she did spell my name right, so that's something. My time on the road with some great referees over the years and their stories of games past really helped me to prepare for the next game that I was assigned. I tried my best to pass those stories on to mentor each referee I worked with, to try to get them to the next level. That was important to me. I took time pregame to talk to younger referees about the teams, the venue, the off-floor officials, the games he had been in lately, to pass on to the next group of referees the way to prepare for each game, to be professional, no matter what the level of play is. It's the best game you have today. Do your best for those involved. A big thank you to my family and friends for being supportive over the years. A huge thank you to Terry Rowland, Doug Luey for their guidance and support when we were starting up the West Durham Minor Lacrosse Association. And then watching my son Brendan play. He played minor to senior and NCAA D1 with Canisius College. It was wonderful. Watching my daughter playing when she was young. Stay off the boards, Katie, I kept telling her. She was fast on the floor and in the ice. To my wife Angela for looking after the house, getting the kids ready, getting their practices, games, all the other activities in the mum taxi. And for making sure my referee equipment was clean, fresh for the next game. Angela told me one game, she yelled, "Ref, you're a bum, go home to your wife and kids, go home." A lady in front of her looked, and she looked back at her, and she was shocked. Angela said, "Yeah, it's okay, he's my husband," and they had a bit of a chuckle. Thank you, it's been a good ride, and I'm sure I will continue to have goosebumps when reflecting on the induction into this incredible historic Hall of Fame. Enjoy the night, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bill Fox.
Congratulations.
On behalf of the team,
Thank you very much. This in front? Sure.
Actually, excuse me.
Sure.
you, okay.
I should be in the
Okay.
middle. Okay. Here we are.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks again. That's fantastic. Thank you. Cheers. Okay.
Probably the first time that Bill's heard everybody cheering for him. I was looking over here at Kaleb, and he's kind of biting his lip. I'm thinking, he's so close to "Ref, you suck." Maybe even dropping an F-bomb, but you held it in, buddy. That's good. Good stuff. The next category of induction is the category of builders. There are up to 3 builders inducted annually and come from the ranks of coaches, managers, administrators, medical personnel, and medium members. And as I mentioned, used to include referees, and that will be rectified in the future. To date, there are about 162 builders inducted into the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame. The difficulty with introducing some of our inductees is that they've simply done too much. Where do I start? Our first inductee in this year's builders class clearly fits that description. So let's start at the beginning. A player in his youth, he became involved with the Ridge Meadows Minor Lacrosse Association in 1996, and over the next 15 years coached minor lacrosse teams in both box and field genres and at virtually all ages. He coached provincial championship teams in the U13, U14, and U16 field lacrosse brackets, in the midget A1 box division, and at the 2008 BC Summer Games. He was also instrumental in bringing both boys in 2006 and girls in 2009 field lacrosse programs to Ridge Meadows, and introducing and then coaching field lacrosse at Pitt Meadows Secondary School. As if he didn't have enough on his plate, he became general manager of the Maple Ridge Burrards of the Western Lacrosse Association in 2016, and over the ensuing 3 seasons, helped guide the Burrards to 2 WLA titles. For his efforts, he was twice named Ridge Meadows Coach of the Year, and was also honored as the association's Volunteer of the Year. These accomplishments are in themselves Hall of Fame worthy. But perhaps his greatest contributions to the game came when he became first, in 2008, the BC Lacrosse Association's regional field coach, and then in 2010, the Team BC Field Lacrosse Coordinator, a position he held for 10 years. The Team BC program is a vehicle for young men and women to train with the goal of becoming model student athletes and to travel to recruiting tournaments throughout North America. Under his guidance, the program became one of the BCLA's most successful endeavors. When he took charge, there were 3 Team BC squads, 2 men's and 1 women's. The program now boasts 10 traveling teams, U18, U16, U15, and U14 men's teams, and senior, junior, sophomore, freshman, and middle school women's teams, as well as the Recruits, a non-traveling group that focuses on skill development for elementary school girls. The benefits of the program to male and female student athletes have been staggering, as over 260 young British Columbians have earned university scholarships in the US and Canada since he took control of the Team BC program. Such dedication and passion, and of course results, is the definition of a true builder of the sport. Please welcome Hall of Famer Rey Comeault.
Good evening, everyone. First and foremost, I would like to thank the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame for this great honor that is before me, and congratulations to the other 2022 Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame inductees. It's very important to express my appreciation to my wife Sandra, who supported me and encouraged me through 24 adult-aged years of very intense lacrosse involvement. It was an incredible journey, and without her approval, I certainly wouldn't be here today. I'm so fortunate and proud to have had children who themselves committed them to very different athletic adventures. My son Zachary played collegiate baseball and graduated with a college degree. My daughter Shannon competed in trampoline gymnastics for Team Canada, representing them in Japan and Belgium on the international stage. And my son Regan, who really drew me to lacrosse and developed my love for the sport. He had a successful collegiate career at Ohio State University, obtained his degree, and on the way represented Team Canada at the U19 World Championships in Turku, Finland in 2012. Special thank you to my brother Chris for his continued support. When I began to reflect on my lacrosse career of involvement, my recollections really centered around people. When I first began coaching a group of very eager and anxious 4-year-olds in mini-type box lacrosse, many of which currently reach out to me and share in their life successes, I was compelled to be the best coach that I could be. Didn't hurt having Al Luthwaite as one of the parents, because he was quite intimidating, that's for sure. Not having played the sport organized when I was a youth, I began to play Masters Box Lacrosse in Ridge Meadows with another eager over 30s group of guys. As the kids continued to age, field lacrosse began to really grow in its infancy stage, and Ridge Meadows did not have a community field lacrosse program. I reached out to Cam Davis, the then Pacific Coast Field Lacrosse Chair, and asked him if we could enroll a U11 team from Ridge Meadows in the POCO Field Association. His answer was swift and sure: no way, start your own field association. So in fact, that's what I did. With the assistance of some parents, Billy Weslowski purchased the humongous nets, held registration. Ridge Meadows purchased some jerseys. I picked up a yellow spray paint contraption, threw the lines down at Harris Road Park, and one of the largest field lacrosse associations in BC currently was born. Having now coaching a sport that I didn't play as a youth, I began playing Masters field lacrosse in Poco with a very eager and talented group of individuals that still play to this day. My first taste of national stage lacrosse came when I was named the assistant coach to the 2004 Team BC Pee Wee Box team. Danny Green was the head coach. Of more significance, Dan Perot and Nick Delmonico, two other greats, were assistant coaches. Why that was important was in 2006, when I was named the head coach of Bantam Team BC Box, I right away convinced Dan and Nick to assist me. Well, we went on to win the national championship in Whitby. New territory continued to be my lacrosse destiny as Regan's first overall selection by Brock Rose and the new Langley Thunder Junior A team occurred. They had just moved from Surrey. I continued coaching, initially as the head coach in Langley with Junior A, and then as the assistant coach to Jake Elliott for Langley's first appearance in the BC Junior Lacrosse League playoffs, something that was super fulfilling and enjoyable. I transitioned back to home and became the assistant GM with the Maple Ridge Burrards under Darren Fridge, and then taking on the GM role, working closely with Lance Andre, whom I have a lot of respect for. My other life in lacrosse began in 2010 when I was asked by the then BCLA Executive Director Rochelle Winterton to take on a role as a regional coach and Team BC field lacrosse coordinator. My initial role was to organize provincial boys teams to compete at nationals. It was a time when travel teams were on the rise and in the BC lacrosse landscape. I approached Rochelle and pitched the idea of me forming a travel team through Team BC to compete in recruiting events. She approved this, and I took a U16 team down to Baltimore and competed with other American teams. Through this experience and years to come, I felt I gained some valuable experience that I could share with families here in BC. Our boys program, with the guidance of Scott Browning, who had coached a few national championships for us and taken our teams, which became an annual program, to Baltimore. And our U19 team was managed by Fred Laughlin for many years, so we had a lot of stability and growth, and we had cultivated some good young coaches, but there was nothing going on the girls' side. I organized our inaugural girls' travel team, where we attended Palm Springs, an event. I recruited Naomi Wolzer as our head coach, and we put together a team of grade 7 to 12 aged girls. Megan Kinna and Ashley Bull were two of those girls, both of whom went on to compete for Team Canada. Megan Kinna recently winning the sixes with Team Canada, and Ashley Bull currently a very committed coach with the Team BC women's program. Through our development, a couple of years in, I'd heard of a coach named Dan Stroop, another lacrosse great, and the fact that he had 3 lacrosse playing daughters. Well, I jumped on it. I lined up a meeting with him, and I recruited him to coach with our program. Also, with Dan, his wife Rita Stroop became a program team manager, and then my right-hand gal and friend for life. Along with a very committed group of coaches, we developed a total of 5 women's travel teams. Through the years, we've assisted and supported upwards of 200 girls as they attained U.S. scholarships to schools, having very fulfilling collegiate careers and obtaining university degrees. Through the years, it wasn't unusual to see notable men's box players and coaches make the transition to the women's field game. Coaches such as Pat Coyle, Chris Gill, Jordy Dean, Jason Bishop, and Fred Jenner. Applying box skills and the style of play to the women's game proved to be very attractive for our girls, and it wasn't uncommon to see our recruits have impact initially when they arrived on a U.S. campus. Selena Soda was certainly our first impact player who went to Northwestern and had a very successful collegiate career. Lacrosse truly has been an integral part of mine and my family's life, and I'm indebted to the sport for that. This past September, our family was blessed with a baby boy, and as long as Regan will have me, I'll be back coaching in 4 short years. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Please welcome Hall of Famer Rey Comeault.
Thank you.
We'll get you over here for the picture. Over here for the picture, please.
Yes.
On behalf of the Premier, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Just step a little bit before, right up against.
I think that over there. Well, I know everybody else.
I've got a 7-year-old granddaughter looking for a coach, Ray. Like many players, our next inductee was introduced to lacrosse by his older siblings and began playing minor lacrosse in his hometown of St. Catharines at age 9. Little did that 9-year-old know he'd be involved in and contribute to the game for some 50 years. After completing his junior eligibility in 1977, he began coaching minor lacrosse, first in Oshawa and then, from 1985 to 99, in Whitby. While coaching in Whitby, he became president of the local minor association, a post he held for 6 years, from 1996 to 2001. In 2002, he was instrumental in the establishment of a minor lacrosse association in Clarington, a community a short distance from Oshawa, and from 2001 to 2005 was general manager of the Clarington Junior B team, guiding them to Founders Cup national titles in 2002 and 2004. In 2008, he founded the Ontario Junior C League and was the league's commissioner until 2011, when he became the box lacrosse sector chair for the Canadian Lacrosse Association, now Lacrosse Canada. He held that position for 6 years, then in 2017 became the CLA's Director of High Performance and International Relations. Clearly, that left him with far too much time on his hands and not nearly enough sleepless nights. So in 2017, he began Commissioner of Major Series Lacrosse, a job he held until last year. In addition to his coaching and administrative roles, he has acted as convener for over 25 national championships, including Pee Wee, Bantam, and Midget Nationals, Founders Cup and Minto Cup championships, and most recently, this year's Man Cup in Peterborough. His contributions to our sport have been recognized both provincially and nationally. He received the Ontario Lacrosse Association President's Award for Service in 2005, and in 2006 was made a life member of the Whitby Minor Lacrosse Association. He received the CLA Recognition Award in 2011, the Queen's Jubilee Award for Service to Canada in 2012, and in 2014 was inducted into the Ontario Lacrosse Hall of Fame as a builder. Over some 5 decades, he has made monumental contributions to the game of lacrosse, both on the floor and in the boardroom. Please welcome to the Hall of Fame, Doug Luey.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to see everybody in person again after a 2-year hiatus due to the awful pandemic we're hopefully out of, or at least getting to the end of. Again, it's great to be out here. Let me begin by thanking my nominator for putting my submission in and checking back on a regular basis to see whether it was up to date and accurate. It's much appreciated, and also thank the selection committee for deciding that my bio was worthy of consideration, let alone getting the nod to enter the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame. It's certainly appreciated. I would also like to congratulate my fellow inductees. Pretty astonishing careers, amazing careers that you had, and congratulations, well deserved. I was out in New West in 2015, I believe, and I paid close attention to the acceptance speeches given that night. I knew a lot of the people that are going in, And what I walked away from that night was the speeches that talked about not their own accomplishments and their achievements in the game and the trophies they won and the points they got, etc. What they talked about was their teammates. And I thought that was quite telling. They talked about their teammates and the lifelong friends they made, whether they started playing at a very young age or whether they started later. It was the teammates is what they walked away from and wanted to talk about that night. I thought that was really interesting, and I think when I was thinking about putting my acceptance speech together, I thought about kind of a different kind of team. When you're a builder, you get involved after your playing days are over, and your teammates become the managers and the coaches and the volunteers, game day staff, people doing the game sheet, the time clock, equipment managers, trainers, sponsors, ball boys, ball girls. People put the programs together. I mean, the list is endless, and I've been very, very fortunate to be surrounded by really, really good people who don't get their names on trophies and they don't get awards, but they're there volunteering their time for the love of the game and support of the game, and I was again very fortunate to have had some really good people around me. My name might be going up on the wall, but I certainly share the honor with them. I really do appreciate everything you do for the game. I think if somebody had told me a long time ago that there'd be over 70 countries playing this game now and we'd be on the verge of re-entering the Olympics, I would have had to question their sanity. But I think it's the inductees in the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame and all those volunteers that work tirelessly behind the scenes, that this sport continues to grow and is showing no signs of slowing down despite the pandemic. So I think the future looks good. I hope that in my time in the game, I never looked at going to the rink as a chore, but rather a privilege. Because while involved with the game, I did get to meet so many great people, not only locally, provincially, nationally, and internationally. It's just lacrosse people are different. Lacrosse people are better, and I really thank them all for that. And finally, I would like to thank the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame and its volunteers for all the work they do to recognize the people that to give back to this game in so many ways. It's the growth of the game is in no small part due to your efforts. So thank you and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, Doug Luey. Perhaps the fastest growing genre of lacrosse in Canada over the past 25 years or so has been women's field lacrosse, aided immensely by the contributions of our final inductee in this year's Builders category. She was introduced to the sport playing in the backyard with her brothers, played box lacrosse from 1978 to 82, then discovered field lacrosse. She was a member of the Canadian women's squad preparing for the 1986 World Cup and played from 1985 to 87 with the Ontario provincial team, winning silver medals in 1985 and 87 and bronze in 1986. It was after the 1987 National Championship that she realized that work had to be done to expand the women's lacrosse base in Ontario and beyond. And from 1988 to 2017 performed a myriad of roles, all geared toward reaching that goal. From 1988 to 92, she was the Women's Sector Chair for the Canadian Lacrosse Association and represented Canada at IFWLA, which stands for International Federation of Women's Lacrosse Associations. Got that right. They've changed their name, thank heaven, to a shorter name. Represented Canada at IFWLA conferences in Toronto, which she convened, Perth, Australia, Ursinus, Pennsylvania, and Oakham, England. From 1992 to 98, she convened the first women's field event at the Ontario Summer Games and the following 3 events. She was the OLA's Women's Field Commissioner from 1988 to 2005, and under her leadership, women's programs grew from 4 teams to 3 leagues, over 30 teams, and over 1,500 players. From 2005 to 2013, she was the director of the CLA's national team program and sat on the FIL, I guess that's a new shortened name, competition committee from 2009 to 2017. Her coaching resume is equally impressive, having coached at the club, provincial, and national level. She has led both the Orillia U19 and senior women's teams, as well as both the Ontario junior and senior teams, leading the junior team to 4 consecutive national titles between 1994 and 97. At the national level, she was head coach of the Canada East team at the 1994 Commonwealth Games in Victoria, where lacrosse was a demonstration sport, and was an assistant coach of Canada's U19 team at the 1995 World Championship in Haverford, Pennsylvania. She took over as head coach of the U19 team in 1997 and led the team to bronze medal positions at both the 1999 World Championship in Perth, Australia, and the 2003 tournament in Towson, Maryland. An NCCB, a National Coaching Certification Program Master Course conductor, she also mentored many beginning coaches for some 15 years. Her multitude of contributions to the game have not gone unnoticed, both provincially and nationally. In 1998, she was the recipient of the OLA's Tip Tether Award for Outstanding Service to the Sport, and in 2002 won the CLA's Lester B. Pearson Award. In addition, she was inducted into the Ontario Lacrosse Hall of Fame in 2020 and the Orillia Sports Hall of Fame in 2021. A builder as a player, coach, and administrator, her contributions to women's lacrosse have enabled legions of young ladies to fall in love with the game just as she did. A true builder in every respect, Joanne Stanga.
Good evening. Thank you for being here tonight to honor your family, your friends, your teammates, colleagues, and maybe even a hero. It sure means a lot to us. To the class of 2022, congratulations. I'm feeling what you're feeling. So honored to be part of all this and speaking here tonight. And to the Hall of Fame board, thank you for your diligent efforts in bringing recognition to the people in the game of lacrosse in Canada and for putting on this great evening for all of us to celebrate and enjoy. I know that many of you here are very much like me, and the first time someone threw you a lacrosse ball and said, "Catch," and you did, you were hooked. I got my start playing box lacrosse 45 years ago on the first girls team in my hometown of Orillia. 20 years later, I was able to go back and help out with the Orillia program when they started their first field lacrosse team for girls. I'd been commissioner for women's lacrosse in Ontario for about 10 years by then, and we'd been working on a lot of developmental initiatives from house leagues to school programs, and finally the first provincially sanctioned league at the under 20 level in '97. Orillia was one of 8 clubs competing in those first under 20 provincials. The championship trophy was named in my honor that year and unveiled and presented by Carol and Wes Patterson, along with a few of my dearest friends in the game. Carol and Wes were the most important mentors for me through the 80s and 90s when we were setting a lot of the foundational pieces for the program. Fast forward another 20 years to an incredible evening in Oshawa under the lights when I was invited to present the Stanga Trophy following the championship game to the 2016 Under-19 champions, Aurelia. The game of lacrosse does this to you. Our stories get all woven together and so often intersect with people we played with or competed against or met along the way. When I moved to Toronto after graduating university, I worked at the OLA office for a few months, and that's where I learned about field lacrosse. I only played for 3 years with the Ontario provincial team in the 80s, really the only team in operation at the time. But that first year, I played with two future Canadian Hall of Famers, Carrie Hartle, class of 07, and Gail Cummings, class of 08. The second year, another one of my teammates was a very young Troyhann Santos. Little did I know I was surrounded by greatness. You can maybe see how I got inspired very early on. We battled against BC in each of those years at Nationals, the most dominant team in women's field history in Canada. So good, in fact, they were inducted as a team into the Hall in 2014. My story continued with several members of that team. I worked with Karen Blake at the CLA level and with national under-19 programs, and Michelle Boyer, inducted a second time as a great player in the class of 2020, is someone whose path mine continues to cross for collaboration. And another was Trish Nicholson. I was pretty lucky to get my national team coaching start as an assistant for Trish with Canada's under-19 team at the first World Championships in '95. I absolutely loved the experience, due in large part to Trish, who always made it fun and always made me laugh. We missed out on the bronze in a double overtime final against England, but it pretty much solidified my passion for coaching and continuing to develop players at the provincial and national level. As great as they were, none of the players from my era would ever have dreamed about the Hall of Fame. The game just wasn't able to give them the spotlight they deserved at the time. But young girls and women today have so many more opportunities to be involved and really make their mark. And they're doing just that. You'll be seeing a lot more of them here soon, I'm sure of it. And that's what I'm most proud of, having been part of this wonderful evolution. I want to leave you with one thing to do. Think of the person who tossed you the first ball and thank them if you can. And if you have the opportunity, keep the ball in motion. Don't hesitate to toss it over to someone who you want to have the best experiences of their lives. Catch!
Ladies and gentlemen, Joanne Stanga.
Congratulations. Go ahead.
No, I'm going to move it ahead a bit. I'm going to move the break 2 more people.
Okay.
Like a well-oiled machine. First time somebody threw me a ball, I dropped it, so I ended up playing goal. we're now going to begin the induction of our players for 2022. Now, with the addition of the new selection committee that Matt mentioned earlier in the evening, focusing on collegiate and international play, in both the box and mainly field, a maximum of 6 players are inducted annually. Now, to date, 253 players have been inducted. And when you think about that, that's not very many. This game's been around for a long, long time. And to be one of a group of 253 players who have played this game for heaven knows how many years, it's a very exclusive group. So keep that in mind. Our first inductee in the players section was the epitome of a great two-way player. Remember those? A reliable point producer in the offensive end and a formidable defender when not in possession. Born in Florida, and that makes him unique for the Hall of Fame, he grew up in Whitby and played 3 seasons of junior A lacrosse with the Builders. Whitby were Middle Cup finalists in 1977 and 78, and he was named to the Ontario Lacrosse Association Junior A All-Star team in 1978 and 1979, when he notched 70 points in 25 games. Already earning a reputation as a great defensive player, he still accumulated 140 points, including 59 goals, in 99 junior games, before graduating to the major series Brooklyn Redmond in 1980. He had an immediate impact on the team, not only notching 54 points as a rookie, but also winning the Merv McKenzie Trophy as the league's outstanding defender, once again as a rookie. He would win that coveted award again in both 1983 and 89, and in 1982, when he played Senior B lacrosse in Kitchener, he was named the Senior B League's top defender. He was part of the 2006 Hall of Fame Brooklyn Club that played in 4 consecutive Mann Cup championships, winning in 1987, 88, and 90. And although renowned as a great defender, chipped in with almost 2 points per game over his illustrious senior career. He wrapped up his box lacrosse career in 1991 when he was a part of the fledgling Major Indoor Lacrosse League champion Detroit Turbos. But he also excelled as a field player. He attended Michigan State University, where he was an all-conference midfielder in 1983, and also represented Canada as part of our national team at both the 1982 and 1986 World Cups. In an era when being a great two-way player, two-way threat was every player's goal, he was one of the best. Please welcome to the Hall of Fame, Blane Harrison.
Board of Governors, honored members, fellow inductees, friends, family, fans, good evening. Back in 1966, a very young Blane Harrison sat in his 4th grade classroom at Palmerston Avenue Public School in Whitby, listening to an announcement. The announcement said, anyone interested in playing lacrosse should come to the Whitby Memorial Arena on Saturday and sign up. I'm not sure what my dad was going to say, but I went home and I asked, and he said yes. And that put me on my current 60-year lacrosse journey, culminating this evening at the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame. I am profoundly humbled, honored, and grateful for this induction. I started playing lacrosse for one simple reason. I just wanted to have fun. And as long as I was going to have fun, I was going to play. In fact, if you're a 30-something-year-old man and you're playing professional lacrosse wearing spandex pants and shorts, and you're not having fun, you are absolutely in the wrong place. Lacrosse has given me the opportunity to meet people and visit places that I never would have done otherwise. I was educated because of lacrosse, met my wife because of lacrosse, was introduced to my career because of lacrosse. I played on championship teams at all level and had that experience. I represented my country twice. And here I am at the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame. It's not a bad ride for a shy kid from Dogpatch, Whitby. Lacrosse, quite honestly, has been the fabric of my life. When I got the call, I started reflecting on what the induction meant and what the journey has meant to me. I started thinking about the milestones, I thinking about the wins, the losses, the ups and downs, but what really came to the forefront were the people. I started thinking about my first coach ever, Jack McDonald in Whitby Novice Lacrosse. I started thinking about my mom and dad, John and Jean Harrison, my sister Denise, the sacrifices that they made as we traipsed along all of Ontario, finding the most humid arenas we could possibly find to play in. I thought about meeting a 16-year-old Brian Combe in the first day of Ajax Junior B tryouts, and he's turned out to be a lifelong friend. I think about the coaches that I've liked along the way, Jim and Brian Brady in Whitby Juniors, Pete Vipon in Brooklyn Seniors, the coaches that I didn't see eye to eye with even, Jim Hinkson and Whitby Juniors. But over the course of time, I really appreciated his style, what he was trying to do and what he was trying to accomplish. And I hope he thinks and feels the same way about me over time. I think about the coaches that have pushed me out of my comfort zone. Bobby Allen on Team Canada and Rich Kimball at Michigan State University. In the broader context, I think about the lacrosse community in general, and I think about how wonderful it is, and I hope I never, ever let go of it. In closing, I'd like to just say thank you. Thank you to my mom and dad. Thank you to my sister, Denise. Thank you to my lovely and encouraging wife, Dawn, my teammates, my opponents, coaches, support staff, referee, the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame. Thank you so much. This induction is an honor of a lifetime.
Ladies and gentlemen, Blane Harrison.
We'll step forward. Street.
Falling apart. I want you to be perfect. Or just take it off. No.
Thank you.
Thank you for showing that. Appreciate it. Good job.
Not only were they spandex shorts, they were purple spandex shorts. Very attractive. How many people here can boast that they had a 45-year playing career? No takers. Probably none, except our next inductee. She was introduced to lacrosse by her grade 8 phys ed teacher and began playing at the bantam level in her hometown of Richmond, BC. She would go on to play the game, both field and box genres, for some 4 decades. After playing minor lacrosse, she joined her former teacher on the Richmond Titans senior women's team and was part of a provincial championship squad in 1980 and a national championship teams in both 1980 and 81. It was in 1983, however, when women's field lacrosse in BC was in its infancy, that both her love affair with lacrosse and her career in the sport really took off. 1983 was the year of the first National Women's Lacrosse Championship, and she was a part of the first BC Selects team that journeyed to Montreal to compete in that event. They took home the title that year and began a run unprecedented in Canadian lacrosse, and she became a vital cog in the team's machinery. An attacker with a tremendous ability to drive to the net, she helped lead the team to 11 consecutive national titles and eventually a place in the Hall of Fame team category. In 1986, she was a member of Canada's national team, which competed at the Women's World Cup in Philadelphia, and in 1989 was again a part of Team Canada's attack at the Perth, Australia Games. After her involvement at the national and international levels ended, the lacrosse bug simply wouldn't go away. She continued to play in various leagues in both box and field lacrosse, men's masters leagues, women's leagues, and co-ed leagues, until COVID put a stop to her playing career. Tonight we recognize her longevity, but most importantly, her on-field excellency with induction into the Hall of Fame, Trish Nicholson.
Good evening, and thank you for attending this ceremony. A big thank you to the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame Board and Selection Committee, and to all the people working behind the scenes that made this evening possible. I'd like to thank my friends and teammates and coaches for being here tonight to help me celebrate this special honor. I would also like to congratulate my fellow inductees, which includes 2 women that I had the pleasure of competing against and working with years ago. A special thank you to Vicki Burkich for taking the time and effort to nominate me, and for making sure that women's lacrosse honors its history and is not just an asterisk at the bottom of a program. The very same Vicki Burkich is the reason that I am here tonight. beyond being my nominator. My whole lacrosse career started with a little lie told to my parents 45 years ago when I came home from a grade 8 PE class and asked if I could play lacrosse. My parents had denied my brother the opportunity to play, saying that it was too rough and unsavory a sport, and especially for a girl. I had to come up with an answer that would change their minds, so I said that my PE teacher, Miss Burkich, said that the rules are different for girls, and it was non-contact. Well, we all know that's pretty far from the truth. My mom replied, well, if Miss Burkich says it's okay for her to play, then I guess we should let her try, much to the dismay of my brother. And from that day forward, I fell in love with lacrosse in all its variations. My parents were not into sports at all, and I knew it was unlikely that they would ever come and see a game, but they always made sure that I had the appropriate equipment and all my fees and paperwork were in order, and they were there to get me to my games. After playing for 3 years, my parents finally came to a game and my mom was astounded. She said the rules were different. People are smashing you with sticks and pushing you into the boards all the time. What's going on here? Are there actually rules? Are there penalties? I replied that I was in a senior division now and the rules were different. But Miss Burkich, she's now my teammate, so everything's good. That was the first and last box lacrosse game that my parents attended. But I know deep down that they were proud of my success in the sport. They just had a really hard time watching me play it. I learned so much playing for Roger Ross and the Richmond Titans, winning 2 national championships. I was only 15 when I had to move up to the senior team as there was no other team for me to play on. I had the best role models for learning how to train hard, focus, and be a champion. They also taught me how to drink beer, which maybe wasn't the best role modeling. After playing for the Titans, field lacrosse became the variation of the game that was going to be supported and promoted. So I switched over with much resentment and regret and started to play the big tennis racket stick, big net game with the BC Selects. Many of my teammates were former adversaries from the dreaded Kirby Clopettes, coached by Hall of Famer Dave Evans, and I was playing with Hall of Famer Michelle Boyer. I was lucky enough to win 11 national championships with the BC Selects and go on to play at 2 World Cups with Team Canada. After I retired from the Selects, I found some playing opportunities with both men's and women's teams, and to this day I wish there was a master's division for women's box and field so that I didn't have to get my ankles broken by 20-year-olds. I'm so grateful that I played this game and met some of my best friends who taught me how to train, be a champion, and also how to coach. Great memories from the road trips across the US in crappy rental cars and staying in dodgy motels or the apartments of strangers, being the only team at US tournaments with the audacity to wear shorts instead of skirts, and whose coach would occasionally kick over buckets of balls while swearing at us. Thank you to my constant roommates Karen Blake, Caroline Carpin, and Marianne Longmore for being the funniest and most loyal of friends. And to Michelle Boyer and Dave Evans for all your work both on and off the field and for believing that women's sports is worthy and equal. But in the end, life comes full circle. I wouldn't be standing here today accepting this honor if it wasn't for one outstanding teacher who took the time to encourage an awkward, shy PE 8 student to play sports, then pushing her towards lacrosse. Sometimes the smallest act of thoughtfulness can produce something special for a kid that is years in the making. And for that, I owe you big time, Vicky Burkich. Thanks again to the Hall of Fame for this honor and to all my fellow inductees.
Ladies and gentlemen, Trish Nicholson.
Yes, we are, please. Was Dave the one who kicked the balls?
Yeah.
Who's the person who kicked the balls?
You. Stop sucking slime buckets.
Right.
Oh, I didn't pick it up then. Okay,
Our next inductee's nickname is Shooter, and he certainly comes by the name honestly. Over his 166-game Junior A career, he led the Ontario Lacrosse Association Junior League in scoring in both 1996 and 98, scored at a pace of nearly 4.5 points per game, and led his hometown Orangeville Northmen to 3 Minto Cup victories in 1993, 95, and 96. Moving to the major series, he didn't skip a beat. He led the Senior A loop in scoring in 3 consecutive seasons, 2001 to 2003, totaled 1,452 points. Is that humming to you, or am I just hearing the humming up here? It's gone? It's because I wasn't talking. Anyway, totaled 1,452 points, a pace of almost 5 points per game, and led Brampton to Man Cup victories in 2002, when he was the Man Cup MVP, and again in 2008 and 2009. In National Lacrosse League competition, he played a remarkable 19 seasons, winning the league's Champions Cup in 2005 with Toronto and 2009 with Calgary. Over that incredible pro career, he tallied 1,457 points, including 908 assists, second in NLL history, and a rate of over 5 points per game. Amidst all these scoring milestones, it's often overlooked that he was as tough as they come, a trait I'm sure inherited from his father, Terry. At only 5'7" and around 160 pounds, probably not that now, but he had to battle for every inch of space on the floor, and more often than not, he won those battles. He's been recognized as the most valuable player at every level in which he's played, and has been honored with membership in the Orangeville Sports Hall of Fame, the Ontario Lacrosse Hall of Fame, and the National Lacrosse League Hall of Fame. Tonight we welcome him to the Canadian Lacrosse Shrine, where he joins both his late father Terry and his uncle Lindsay, Josh Sanderson.
Hello everyone. I'd like to apologize for not being in attendance tonight. I'm in Akwesasne, Ontario with the San Diego Seals. We have 2 exhibition games that I need to be there for. I definitely am very humbled and honored to be joining all the greats in the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame. And I was lucky enough to attend this event twice before, once for my dad and once last year. I'd like to congratulate all of this year's inductees, the great official Bill Fox, the great Builders Rey Comeault, Doug Luey and Joanne Stanga. I'd like to congratulate all the great players joining this year's class. Rich Catton, Blane Harrison, Trish Nicholson, Troyhann Santos, and Kaleb Toth, who I was lucky enough to play with in Calgary in 2009 and win a championship with, who's also a great friend and was a great teammate. I have so many people to thank for me being inducted into the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame. All of my teammates from the Junior A Northmen, Brampton Excelsiors, Snake Island Muskies, Coquitlam Madanax, Team Canada 2011. You guys have your fingerprints all over me getting inducted into the Hall of Fame here tonight. To all my coaches that helped me along the way in junior, senior, pro, I can't thank you guys enough for showing the confidence in me on the floor and letting me do my thing. You know, your leadership was great for me, and I appreciate all of your support throughout my career. Thank you to all the equipment and physiotherapists, you know, on all these teams and in the National Lacrosse League. You know, I just wouldn't have been able to play without all your support and help getting me ready to play each and every night. I just can't thank you enough for your professionalism on and off the floor. So all the training staffs that I worked with were phenomenal, and I'm very thankful for them. You know, some special players and teammates and coaches and GMs that I played with, I just have to mention their names. They're so big as far as either chemistry on the floor or connection off the floor, or just good friends that, you know, that I competed with and that are lifelong friends. So a bit of a long list here, but Bruce Codd, Gary Scott, Jim Rankin, Rusty Kruger, Brandon Sanderson, Ryan Sanderson, Chris Sanderson, Bob Cleveley, Lindsay Sanderson, John Level, Shane Sanderson, Phil Sanderson, Troy Cordonley, Ed Gajewski, Cam Woods, Dan Teat, Mike Hazen, Shaden Santos, Aaron Wilson, Colin Doyle, Blaine Manning, Dan Dawson, Casey Barnes, Tracy Kaluski, Jeff Shatler, Gary Rosinski, Kurt Molosky, Scott Ranger, Dane Doby, Pat Merrill, Brody Merrill, Brandon Miller, Bob Watson, Mike Regan. I just wanted to name these guys just for the comfort level they gave me and the chemistry we had on and off the floor. Were a very big part of my career. You know, my cousin Philip was a huge part of my career. You know, just such a comfort level playing with him through junior, minor, senior, a bit of pro. So Philip, you know, always gave me that real comfort level, and very grateful to have a chance to play with Flip, a good part of my career, and obviously is a very big reason why I'm up here today. Also, my father, you know, he just taught me so much on and off the floor. He's definitely the biggest reason why I'm joining the Hall of Fame here tonight, and I just learned so much through him throughout my career. So, to all the great ownerships I had playing, Tom and Al Brandon with Brampton, Doc Hedges with Coquitlam, Orangeville Junior A Executive, Gleewood A. Mitchell with Snake Island, Brad Bannister with Calgary. You know, I just love playing for all these teams. We were always competitive, and all these gentlemen treated me very well. So I just wanted to thank all of them. I was lucky enough to play on some very special teams over my career. Obviously, the 1995-96 Junior A Northmen will always be special to me. The 2002, 8, and 09 Brampton Excelsiors will always be special. The two NLL teams, 2005 Toronto, 2009 Calgary, and then 2011 Team Canada in Prague. These teams are always going to have a special place in my heart, and always look fondly back on my career. Obviously, the support of my family is one of the biggest reasons I'm up here tonight. My nan, my sister, my mom were all my biggest fans, supporting me on and off the floor. Of course, my dad, who always knew what to say off the floor too. Obviously, on the floor, he was teaching me lots, but away from the rink, I could always count on my dad to give me confidence and tell me the right things. My wife, Lindsay, my son, Cameron, Dylan, and Owen, and my daughter, Ashley. I can't thank you guys enough for your support, especially near the end of my career. I loved having you guys at the games, and it helped push me probably a little bit, play a little bit more than I was going to. So I'm just very fortunate to be putting this video up in front of you guys. Couldn't be happier to be joining the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame with my father and all the greats of lacrosse. I hope everybody enjoys their evening tonight, and thank you very much.
Now, as Josh mentioned in his video, he is the offensive coordinator and player development manager of the San Diego Seals in the NOL, and they are back east playing exhibition games. So he obviously is not able to be here tonight. But ironically, his cousin Phil, who we mentioned in the video, has similar responsibilities with the Vancouver Ravens, and he is here tonight. And Warriors. I didn't even write Ravens. That's Del Monte's fault. The Vancouver Warriors. I'd like to ask Phil to come forward now and accept on Josh's behalf.
Thanks for coming.
No problem. Yeah.
I figure, Paul, if I bring the name up every now and then, we might actually get paid sometime. Like many girls, our next inductee began her lacrosse career playing on boys' box teams. In her case, it was in her adopted hometown of Whitby, Ontario, where she began playing at the age of 11. She continued to play on co-ed teams to age 18, and over that period developed not only her lacrosse IQ and skill set, but her toughness and leadership, attributes that would be of huge value throughout her ongoing lacrosse journey, both in the rink and on the field. She began playing field lacrosse with Team Ontario and played on the provincial squad in 10 national championships, captaining the team to gold medals in 1994, 95, 96, and 97. During that period, she not surprisingly caught the eye of U.S. collegiate recruiters and chose to play her collegiate ball at James Madison University in Virginia, one of the first Canadians to earn a collegiate scholarship. Clearly, it was a good fit for both her and the school, as she led the Dukes, and why the Dukes and not the Duchesses, I don't know, but anyway, led the Dukes to third-place conference finishes in both 1992 and 93. Playing in every one of her school's games over her 4-year collegiate stint, she would captain the team in her senior year and win all-conference all-star berths in 1992 and 93. At the international level, she represented our country at the 1994 Commonwealth Games in Victoria, where lacrosse was a demonstration sport, and was the team's captain and leading scorer. She was also a member of Team Canada at 3 World Cups, 1997 in Japan, 2001 in England, and 2005 in Baltimore, Maryland, being named a co-captain of the latter 2 teams. At the conclusion of, and in fact during, her exceptional playing career, she focused her boundless energy and love for the sport on coaching and administration. She's coached box and field lacrosse, boys and girls, at the local and provincial levels, and at last count had led Team Ontario squads to 15 medals, 9 of them gold, at national competitions. An incredible role model for young men and women alike, her playing and coaching careers have been recognized with induction into both the Whitby Sports Hall of Fame and the Ontario Lacrosse Hall of Fame. And she now joins her peers in the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame. Please welcome Troyhann Santos.
A big congratulations to my fellow inductees for being acknowledged for your lifetime achievements. It's amazing to see all that you've accomplished in this sport. Thank you to the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame for this great honor. But more importantly, thank you for recognizing the gender gap amongst players in the Hall and for working toward a more inclusive community. I am hopeful that this organization will continue to make changes so that more female athletes will be admitted for their outstanding successes. You don't get many opportunities to thank people who have had a positive impact on your life. At this time, I'd like to acknowledge those who helped me along the way and to those who continue to inspire me. To my teammates, thank you for getting me into the Hall, because as you know, lacrosse is a team sport, and if it wouldn't be here if it wasn't for each of you. Teammates are the best part about playing a sport. They just make everything fun. I was fortunate to play with great athletes who became lifelong friends. Thank you for pushing me to be a better player and ultimately a better person. I will never forget all our epic times we shared. To my parents, there's a saying, behind every great athlete are exhausted parents. There is no doubt that my mom and dad supported my dream of playing lacrosse. They researched the best prospect camps, paid for extra training, gave up their holidays, stayed up late to organize my schedule, bought me the best gear, and drove me thousands of miles to tournaments. But more importantly, they were tasked with keeping me focused and on track. Their endless sacrifices and constant guidance enabled me to succeed. Thank you, Mom and Dad. To my brother, a role model is someone worthy of imitating, someone that inspires you. For me, that person is Shaden. It's not unusual to be enamored by an older sibling, but in my case, I looked up to my little brother. Of course, I wanted to be as good a player. Being an impact player in the NLL for 18 years is a hard thing to keep up to. But it was his team leadership that I really admired. He continues to be supportive, and you can always count on him for a good laugh. Shay, I'm so glad we grew up playing lacrosse together and that we are now leading our kids down the same path. To my sons, I'm very proud of these 2 young men. They instill the qualities that are so important to me. They're kind, hardworking, and passionate, and I'm so happy that they're passionate about lacrosse. But they really didn't have much of a choice. They have already accomplished so much, but I'm eager to see what they conquer next. Tracy and Trent, you inspire me every day. I'm so excited to be on this journey with both of you. To my sister, I was fortunate to have my own fan club, and that was led by my sister Dana. She cheered me on at every high school, provincial, national, collegiate, and world game I played in. At times you could find her in the stands waving the Canadian flag or wearing one of our jerseys. She bragged about Shaden and I and did the same with her nephews and nieces. Her mere presence made you feel better about yourself. I know she's in heaven still cheering us on. Dana, I promise that we will continue to make you proud. I've had the good sense to surround myself with positive people who believe in me, encourage me to go after my dreams, and applaud me for my victories, and I'm so grateful for each of you. Mom, Dad, Trayson, Trent, Kevin, Dana, Shaden, Leah, Pedro, Taylor, Dylan, and Morgan, thank you for being a constant source of support and for being so much damn fun. And thank you to those who came out to support this event. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Troyhann Santos. I've mentioned this to a few people this evening. I have a 7-year-old granddaughter who just played her first field lacrosse game, I guess a week ago, and just loves it. And I was over the other day picking her up to take her to school. And of course, Papa's got to stick his nose into everything, so I'm showing her a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And she's running around her mom's or my daughter's basement and jumping over cushions and all these sort of things. And I said, "Oh, Arabella, I'd say we got a bowl. We got to get you to school, but we'll take your stick and maybe we'll have some time to throw the ball around before school if we get there." And she turned to me and says, "Papa, you know what I want to be when I grow up? I want to be a professional lacrosse player." And I thought that was so cool. And because of people like Troyhann, like Trish, like Joanne, Michelle, other girls, that might happen one day. And that's very, very wonderful. And congratulations to all of you. And thank you. Tonight has truly been a night of firsts. The first inductee in the new officials category, our first Florida-born inductee, and now our first player whose minor lacrosse was played entirely in the province of Alberta will be introduced. Born in Calgary, he played minor lacrosse there until being lured to the West Coast to join the Junior A Burnaby Lakers in 1997. To say the move was successful would be a colossal understatement. In 1997, he was named the BC Junior A League's top rookie and earned a spot on the first All-Star team. He trumped that the following year, leading the league in scoring with 130 points, almost 5.5 points per game, again being named a first-team All-Star and leading Burnaby to a Minto Cup title. He joined the Western Lacrosse Association's Victoria Shamrocks in 1999 and had 4 very successful seasons in the capital city. He was part of the Rocks Man Cup winning team as a rookie, was a second-team All-Star in 2000, and in 2001, after leading the league with 52 goals, was named to the first All-Star team. He moved up Island in 2005 and joined the Nanaimo Timbermen, where he played for 7 seasons, earning a second All-Star team nod in 2005. His National Lacrosse League debut came in the 2000 season with the Toronto Rock, and what a debut it was, as his iconic buzzer-beater goal with 1 second remaining clinched the Rock's championship victory over Rochester. He joined his hometown Calgary Roughnecks in 2002 and played 11 seasons there, winning his second NLL championship in 2004 and his third in 2009. He retired after the 2012 season and was honored by the Roughnecks by having his jersey number 9 retired. In all, he amassed 744 points in his 13-year professional career, a pace of nearly 4 points per game. He was one of the most dynamic players of his generation and has clearly earned the role of Alberta's first Hall of Fame player, Kaleb Toth.
Growing up playing lacrosse in Calgary, I never imagined being in the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame. I would like to thank the executive and voting members for this amazing honor. When I look back on my career, the one thing that always comes up is support. The support of my parents, Harris and Christine, being there to coach, to cheer, to give me advice, whether I listened or not. My brother Joseph, always going to the outdoor box with me, working with me and encouraging me and helping me to be better. My sisters, Cindy and Katrina, and the rest of my family, cheering and supporting in wins and defeats. I've had many great friends who have practiced with me, who have traveled all over to watch me play and to support me. I was fortunate to have been a part of many great lacrosse teams, champion or not. The support from coaches, teammates, owners, training, and equipment staff. I thank you for believing and keeping me playing for all those years. My billets in Burnaby and Victoria, thank you for the support and making the move away from my family, welcoming me into your family, an easy adjustment. Last, a special thank you to my wife, Marianne, my children, Dio, Liliana, and Annabella. Thank you for always supporting my lacrosse career and the sacrifices you have all made in allowing me to play the Creator's game. Thank you.
Please welcome Kaleb Toth. Defensive players in lacrosse are much like offensive linemen in football. You rarely notice them unless they screw up. Then you really notice them. Well, unlike those poor offensive linemen, though, tonight's final inductee spent his illustrious career being noticed for all the right reasons. He was born in Westminster and played his minor lacrosse in the Royal City. He eventually graduated to the Junior A ranks in 1989 and played 4 years with the Junior Bellies. In an era when players played both offense and defense, his 6'1", 210-pound frame made him an intimidating force on defense. And yet he chipped in nearly a point per game in the offensive end. In fact, when called up to the Senior Salmon Bellies in 1990, he scored a goal in his first Western Lacrosse Association appearance. Defending was his forte, though, and he was named his team's outstanding defensive player in 1992, his final year of junior. In 1993, he was drafted by the Vancouver Burrards and began a Senior A journey that saw him begin a 16-year WLA career that had stops in Surrey, Maple Ridge, New Westminster, where he played 4 seasons with his hometown club, Victoria, and Coquitlam, where he wound up his career. Although not a prolific scorer, he was named to the WLA's first All-Star team in 1996 and the second team in 2003, an indication of the respect he earned for his defensive prowess. In 1996, he was awarded the WLA's Top Defensive Player Award, and in 2006 won the Fred Wooster Trophy as the Western Lacrosse Association's unsung hero. But the highlight of his Senior A career was being a part of Victoria's 2005 Mann Cup Championship team. He began his 11-year NLL career with the Buffalo Bandits in 2000 before joining his hometown Vancouver Ravens, I got it right this time, for their inaugural season in 2002. He played every game for the Ravens from 2002 to 2004, was a captain for the team for his entire stay there, won the team's Wayne Goss Leadership Award in 2004, and was chosen by the Vancouver Province newspaper as the Ravens' 2003 Most Valuable Player. With the demise of the Ravens, he joined the Calgary Roughnecks for 1 season before moving to the Colorado Mammoth in 2006 and played his last 5 NLL seasons in Denver, winning an NLL title in 2006. Not surprisingly, that title, along with his 2005 Mann Cup, were highlights of his career. And he added another title, a World Indoor Lacrosse title, in 2003 as a member of Team Canada's defensive corps. A solid offensive contributor early in his career and a defensive star and leader throughout his playing days, we welcome to the Hall of Fame, Rich Catton.
Good evening, everyone. First, I'd like to congratulate fellow inductees Blane, Trish, Josh, Troyhann, Kaleb, and Builders Rey, Doug, Joanne, and official Bill Fox. I'm honored to be inducted with all of you. I would like to thank David Saul, Brad Joseph, and all the Hall of Fame staff for all the work they do behind the scenes to make the banquet and induction ceremony happen. Thank you to all the honored members, families, and friends that have come together here tonight to welcome me and my fellow inductees into the Hall. For me, the success I had throughout my career was directly attributed to the support I received from my family, friends, and teammates. Lacrosse is a game that requires dedication, sacrifice, discipline, and hard work, but more importantly, it taught me how to compete, how to fail, and what it feels like to win. Growing up in New Westminster, I was very lucky to have the opportunity to watch some of the game's very best play at Queen's Park Arena throughout the 70s and 80s. Now looking back, I've come to realize that I was very fortunate to be influenced by some of the greats that I watched growing up. For example, at an early age, I became friends with Wayne Goss's youngest boy, Ryan. I spent time at Wayne and Carol's house through the 70s and 80s, and Ryan always told me stories of how hard Wayne trained when he was still playing before his accident. Wayne had a fitness routine and worked on his stick skills at the elementary school we went to, a true pioneer of the sport. My last year with the Junior Bellies, Hall of Famer Lyle Robinson was my coach, and just listening to and being around him gave me an understanding of how physically and mentally tough I was going to need to be to compete at the senior level. In my early 20s, I realized that I needed to get stronger and put on some pounds, so I became a bit of a gym rat. I go to Canada Games in New West and occasionally run into Jordy Dean. I remember Jordy coming up to me and saying, "Rich, remember you're a lacrosse player, not a weightlifter." And then I'd watch him go back to the rack and squat 400 pounds. When I was drafted by the Vancouver Bards in the 90s, my head coach was Dave Durrani, the dude. Dave taught me it wasn't about the losing. We did a lot of it that year. I think we were 4-21. It was about being a student of the game and improving as a team. Special thanks to my mom, Sue, and dad, Keith, for introducing me to the game and being there for me for my whole life. To my kids, Madison, Cole, Evan, and Abby, thank you for understanding my commitment and passion for the game. Whatever you decide to do in life, I will always be your biggest fan. To my wife, Jamie, thank you for your love and support over the past 15 years. I played the game for a long time, and winning was great, but overall, I lost a lot more than I won. So the real memories come from being around and competing with my teammates, not winning or losing. To my oldest friend, lacrosse buddy Sheldon Pallador, 46 years later, we are still close friends, who've always been there for each other. To Robbie Sato Williams for being the second best roommate ever, Chris Levis still holds the title. Thanks to Ken Thomas, my first senior A captain, for showing me the way in the room and on the floor. Special thanks to Darren Fridge for all the great memories and being there when I called. Thanks to Pat Coyle for stealing the WLA Defensive Player Award for me every year and getting us to the airport on time. Thanks to Chris Gill for stirring the pot and the laughs over the years. To Andy Ogilvie, thank you, the Clint Eastwood of Lacrosse, for showing me the ropes of the road. To Dan Stroop for showing me the families first. Russ Hurd for demonstrating that you need to put in the work at Moody Box. Thank you to Matt Levesque for your friendship, not making me feel old, and your endless DVD collection. Thanks to my island friends that tried to convince me that red wine was must-have the night before the game. Thanks to Dwight Meckie for all the great wisdom he shared on the trips back and forth to the island. A big thanks to Walt Christensen for opening his home to me in 2005 and 2006. A special thanks to Doc Hedges for taking care of so many of us over the years. And lastly, to my good friend and NL franchise killer Bruce Murray, you are my best man. Whether the game taught me to dedication at a young age or how to give back to the game later in life, I'm truly honored to have put my small mark on such a fantastic sport. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Rich Catton.
Thank you very much.
So excited. Somebody who played for the Bellies and the West.
Rick? Sorry. Sorry, hang on, please, Rich.
So that last one is really special for our Premier John Horgan, somebody who, born in New West, played for both the Bellies and the Shamrocks. So that's just amazing. Can everybody just say "Yay Lacrosse"? And I'll send this to the boss. Everybody get in here. You guys get in.
I'll fall off the stage.
I'll count to 3 and then we'll say it, okay?
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Yay, Lacrosse!
Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks a lot. Just before I conclude things for this evening, I was thinking, Rich, you were saying Gilly stirred the pot. Well, he certainly wasn't going to steal any defensive player awards, so he pretty much had to stir the pot. With a toothbrush, right, Gilly? Now that concludes the formal part of the evening. First of all, I'd like to congratulate once again all of our inductees. Give them all another round of applause. I say to the inductees every year that sometimes an event like this and an award like this hits you right away. Sometimes you think about it, you'll be on the flight back to wherever, or you'll be thinking about it at work or school, whatever, a week from now, and you'll realize what an honor it is. But one way or another, it's going to hit you, and you're going to realize, first of all, what an honor this is, and secondly, how much you richly deserve it, every one of you. Now, a few thank yous from me personally. First of all, to Rad Joseph. He's been thanked several times, and nobody's quite sure what he's being thanked for. But for me, Rad has written all the bios in the programs, and that takes a ton of the load off of me for putting together the program and whatnot. So thank you very much for that. To Connor Hollingshead for being Mr. Techie Dude over there, because if I got over there within 5 seconds, I'd push the wrong buttons and all of New Westminster would be in darkness. So thank you to Connor and to Robin, of course, for all her work in putting the event together. Thank you so much for Minister Whiteside and indirectly to Premier Horgan for their contribution to this evening. I'd also like to thank all tonight's inductees and all of the inductees that I've been lucky enough to help introduce over the years. I know I promised this in the past, and I always renege on my promise, but tonight will be the last year that I'll be doing this. And yeah, haha. No, this is for sure for Ding Dong Daddy, sure. When's the last time anybody says? See, it's time to bail when you start saying stuff like that, isn't it? So I just like to thank all of tonight's inductees and all the past inductees just for letting me be a part of their very special evening. Hopefully I didn't foul it up too much in most cases, and thank you so much to all of you. Thank you very much for coming tonight, supporting the Hall of Fame, and more importantly, supporting all of our honored inductees tonight. Enjoy the rest of your evening. If you're here from out of the province, enjoy the rest of your stay here in British Columbia. Hopefully we won't have another monsoon for you in the next few days. Enjoy the rest of your evening here. Have a safe trip home, wherever that home might be. Thank you very much for coming.